All right. You can unmute yourself now, Dimitri. We're all set up, ready to rock.
Beautiful.
All right, cool. So how are things in your world? And I'll just, before actually we get in, I'll remind everyone, if you want to throw any questions for Dimitri into the chat or the Q&A, I'll try to monitor those. But Dimitri, again, welcome. Thank you so much. We had the summer off basically from chit chatting over it's been a little while. So how you been doing? How's your world? How are the mortgage rates doing? How's your world in the lending world?
Oh, always a good time. Always a good time. And I'm sure your team could use a bit of a break from all the doom and gloom that you're hearing and, in the financial world and whatnot. So, the truth is, on the rate side, things have been pretty steady overall. I mean, as everyone knows, there was that change in early September that was huge again. But luckily, actually, we found that lenders across the board did not actually increase long-term fixed rates with that change. It pretty much just put the variable rates in line with fixed rates, essentially, is what happened. So all those rates are pretty much the same these days. There are some variances. Like, for example, we have a rate special on a 3-year fixed of 4.99, just to have a 4 in front of that that rate, I think. Kind of like the old switcheroo when you see a sale price in a grocery store, but it's actually 1 cent lower, right, than it was the day before. But anyway, so things are actually pretty steady, but there are 2 more rate changes coming, as I'm sure many of you know that follow this closely. So I believe October 26th, so in a couple of weeks, there's a change coming up, at least a review by the BOC of rates. Most people believe that'll be a 0.5 point change, but again, we'll have to see, because there have been surprises all year. And then there's going to be another review December 7th. So there are 2 more over the next, I guess 8 weeks here to finish off the year. What Ben Tal is saying, so, our chief economist, is he's saying that there should be at least some movement in the prime rate, both meetings. Now, he doesn't know if both will be huge, right? So like maybe 0.5 point each, another point up, but there appears to be about another % of spread in the prime rate to move up. And then at that point, really the Bank of Canada doesn't have a lot more room to move at that point, unless they want to make something really dramatic happen at that point, which would be obviously not a lot of fun for us, right? But having said that, the fixed rates haven't moved a lot, which kind of indicates from the bank's pricing side that they don't really think that in the long term rates are going to stay here, right? So if that's the case, that's kind of why some lenders are introducing 2- and 3-year fixed rate specials right now, which I've actually never seen before in the 16 years I've done this, purely to kind of try to give some sort of reprieve in rates for short-term offers. And then from a realtor's perspective, I think what's kind of nice is you can kind of really sell that starter home, right? Because you can tell clients, well, listen, if your lender's offering you a 2 or 3 year term, let's try to maybe focus on a home you might want to move in 2 or 3 years. And of course, as the rates go down potentially in a few years, so the price of the home should potentially go up, right? So it could be a nice time to buy a place, you pay a bit of a premium to the bank, but then you're preparing yourself to move into your long-term home potentially down the road. So yeah.
Gotcha. So that's sort of what I've heard as well, and heard from economists is, okay, like rates are nothing's happening. They're here to stay. If anything, going to go tick up a little bit more over the next little while, and maybe so. I'm curious, has Benjamin Tal kind of given are we thinking it's in that 2024? Maybe that's when we start to see things come down potentially, barring any worldwide disasters again. So it's kind of like rates are hanging out here for the next year or so. Maybe 2024. Is that kind of the same timeline that you guys have been talking about?
Yeah, actually, he was just on BNN actually last week, and he was indicating that he thinks at the earliest we could see movement down with rates probably toward the end of next year. There might be some movement down next year. Having said that, though, there's been some talk internally at CIBC, for example, that by the spring of this year, the bank may start announcing some rate specials again, because they really don't have a lot of specials that are really, super, super attractive, just because it's hard to sell a 5% rate to anyone really in a fun way, right? So the idea is that basically, I mean, the rate wouldn't be, 2.5 or anything in May, but the logic is that you might start seeing more dramatic promotions just purely to move volume. Because volume, for example, on our end, which I'm sure is the case with most agents these days, is down significantly. So, for example, in the GTA, condo volume is down over 50% year to date so far. So it's one of those things where it's obvious that everyone's hurting a little bit here. And so, it is what it is. And having said that, As people, some of you may be aware, gas prices were up this weekend, right? That was a lot of fun for those of us driving to visit family. OPEC's cutting production, which is so much fun. So the idea is that inflation actually may not be impacted positively entirely by rate increases. So that may actually de-incentivize the government to continue to push rates actually up, because if it just isn't working the way that intended, that it may. So that's why 2024, it looks like it's going to be a better year. Overall, should see rates net down. But even next year, even as early as the spring, you might see a little bit of movement and hopefully a little bit of positivity from buyers and that sort of thing. So we'll see.
And that's what we've kind of talked about too at our end is going, we're going to get back to regularly scheduled programming with, the cyclical time of the market. And hey, winter's, probably going to be, it's always slower in winter, and it's going to be a slower winter. And then, pick back up in spring, and we'll get back to our regular market cycle. So
exactly. Good time to go to Mexico.
Yeah. So how have you, I'd say it's kind of switching gears. If there's any questions, again, feel free to throw them on. The other big news out there is with the foreign buyer ban. Maybe could you elaborate a little bit on that, what it means, and what can we expect in our market here in Winnipeg?
Fair enough. Yeah. There's been a little bit of clarity on that from the Trudeau government. So, for example, when that ban first came out, it really wasn't clear who exactly was banned, to be honest with you, because it wasn't like every, foreign buyer was inherently banned. But they did put some clarity into what it means to be foreign. Does that make sense? So the idea is a foreign buyer is someone that does permanently reside outside of Canada. Like that's kind of the general rule of thumb. So so that doesn't really, a lot of people are asking me, what about new immigrants, stuff like that. A person on a work permit that is working here can still get a mortgage. A person that is new to Canada completely, that's on a permanent resident card but isn't working, right, can still get a mortgage, right, as long as they have other requirements, obviously. So the trick basically is that and actually I will say the majority of lenders, like the big five banks and a lot of like trust company lenders that work in the broker channel, never really supported like full-on foreign purchasing, to be honest. So there's no impact to our policy at all, like at big banks and stuff like that. But for there might be situations, for example, I've heard from some realtors that they'll deal with clients that are entirely foreign, like Americans, for example, once in a while, or even clients from certain Asian countries that are buying like real estate here. It looks like the ban on foreign buying is going to mean that they can't even pay cash for those homes. So historically, it was obvious there was no mortgage in a lot of cases, but there was some actually foreign buyer lending depending on the criteria. Like we still have a bit of a program for Americans, but anyway. And so the moral of the story is we never use it, never gets approved. But anyway, so the moral of the story is that the kind of long and short of it is that like those are going to be pretty much be null and void, because lawyers are supposed to have to verify a person's residency status at time of purchase if there's not getting a mortgage. And so, and they always have to verify ID as it is. But now when you're verifying residency status, which they don't actually do right now, right? They only have to verify a person's physical ID. It can be from anywhere in the world, right? And now they have to verify residency status apparently. And so if that's the case, then that may show stop deals where, someone's actually made an offer, technically bought the home, but then can't close on it if they're considered a foreign buyer. So again, foreign buyers, mainly someone permanently residing and working outside of Canada is kind of the general rule of thumb there.
Gotcha. Yeah. And so have you, I have my, anecdotal thoughts, I should say, but has there been what do you think about how it may or may not impact our market locally here in Winnipeg?
Well, it's funny because so as indicated there, like, from the big banks and stuff, we really don't see a lot of it to begin with because we actually don't support full-on foreign purchasing, like CIBC used to have a foreign income program actually that was pulled like 4 or 5 years ago. So it's been gone for years already. I will say though, is in our market, I can't imagine it's going to be a huge impact, honestly. I'm sure the majority of people that are buying real estate here are new immigrants that would be kind of deemed foreign, you know what I mean? I would think it's got to be 95% plus, but I will say in other markets in Canada, especially BC, Ontario, and Quebec, there was actually quite a bit of foreign buying, enormous amount, especially in BC. And so they've already seen house prices can drop when they made the first announcement. And there's some belief that it is tied to foreign purchasing. In fact, actually, HSBC, yes, the big Chinese bank that's in Canada has a Canadian affiliate, is up for sale right now, actually. So they're looking to merge with another bank because of this policy, essentially, because they were supporting a lot of influx from Chinese clients into Canada that were buying real estate and doing some mortgage lending for them, and now they can't. So it's like that's a huge hit to their bottom line for their retail channel. So they're looking to just offload their book essentially. So it's an interesting change actually. This seems to be a big change, but it's funny. HSBC has really good market share in BC, but not so much anywhere else entirely for this reason. So locally, I can't imagine much, but maybe some of the agents out there, if they want to make any comments here, if you're dealing with clients that would be deemed foreign by this definition, feel free to chime in, because if you're impacted more, I'd love to hear about it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And so how does that, is it just a matter of moving money around? Let's say there is, we've encountered it where maybe there's somebody who has a student, their child is studying here and they want to, rather than, them, renting at the villa, they want to, the parent wants to buy a place so the kid has a place to live while they're studying. So is that, I was just curious, and I haven't looked into it enough to know. So do you know, would that be permitted, or does that parent just have to like funnel money to the kid and the kid buys it? Like, how does that potentially work? Or is that a ban?
That's a great question. That appears to be the loophole, actually, to be honest, Michael. So it's like the loophole is easy. If you can send your kid to go to school at U of M, and as long as they're on a student visa, technically, so they still have a visa to live here, it appears they can purchase. Yes. So because they'll have Canadian ID, technically, they'll have a Canadian a visa, and they'll have some other form of ID from like a health card or whatever. So technically, a solicitor should be able to accept a cash on purchase transaction, basically, from that individual. However, there's been some cases where students were getting financing for mortgages, and that should be zero now. Right. Like that should be. So even the odd credit union that's doing some of those for people is supposed to not do them anymore, because they have to be technically either a work permit or PR, not neither of the others. But again, there could be some gray if it's provincially regulated versus federal and whatever. So we'll see if that's possible. But I think that's still the loophole, to my knowledge. It's funny, this just came up in a call last week for us. Yeah. We don't see why a student wouldn't technically be able to pay cash for a house. They're technically in Canada, they're residing here. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's excluded. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's just a matter of the parent getting the kid the money. Or, I mean, what if they did a private, I don't know, maybe I'm going down the rabbit hole. What if they did private financing, right? I'm going to borrow the money from my dad at, whatever, 1%.
Oh, 0%. Yeah. And that would even be done in the country of origin, likely, right? Yeah. So in theory, because that's the trick, right? Is private financing, for example, for a foreign individual will be done through a lawyer, right? And what we're told is it's the solicitor that's going to be responsible to actually verify this, right? So if it's private financing from, I don't know, like in India or China or the US, then in theory that's supposed to be a showstopper. But so we'll see how that. So it's almost more like they'd probably have to arrange some sort of private financing back home if they wanted to do something like that. Like, for example, if the parent owns a corp, the corp could lend the money to the kid in the country of origin, and then the kid pays the corp, in a sense, right? If there's certain tax benefits or whatever, to do it that way. But anyway.
So where there's a will, there's a way. Where there's a checkbook, there's a way.
That is the way, is to continue to throw the kids into Canada to buy the real estate. So that's why I don't think realistically it's going to have a dramatic impact. It's probably more in the commercial space, where there's going to be some significant impact potentially, but yeah.
Cool. Awesome. No, that I appreciate your insight into that, brings some clarity. Does anybody else have any questions or comments for Dimitri? I'll give it a second here. While any of those people may or may not be typing, anything else that you think is important that you would like to tell our wonderful audience here at Prime?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah. I love you guys, honestly, so I'm just going to appeal to the crowd using empathy, but yeah, no, but listen, congrats on everyone's summer. Honestly, it looks like a lot of you guys did really well this summer, and the summer did end up being a pretty strong year for Winnipeg real estate. Fall's tough. Maybe I'll give a shout out to some of the younger agents, maybe it's a better way because the old dogs know what they're going through here. They've been through it before, but hang in there. It could be a bit of a lean few months. I've been through this during the prior U.S. housing crisis, where it was a real downturn in real estate temporarily, but there's always a gold mine after. So there's always a gold rush that comes. So just be prepared for that. Do all the work you need to do and align yourself with the right partners. Hopefully I'm one of those people, But don't be shy, honestly, guys, just to reach out. Like if you see value in partnering with someone like me, what I do for clients is what I do here. So if you think clients can benefit from this type of conversation, kind of top level advice driven, if you do the same thing with your clients, let me know. So I'd love to partner up.
Yeah. And you know what? Throw him a bone because he got absolutely shellacked in fantasy football this week. Dimitri, right?
I'm
So
last now. Yeah.
yeah, at last place. So he needs a little help. So
It's brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think have I paid you yet, Michael? Yeah. I need a deal to pay you. So yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, I don't see any questions coming in. So Dimitri, I want to thank you again, and for zooming in here and for your insight. Appreciate it as always, brother.
Take care, guys. Thank you, Michael, for the time. We'll talk to you guys again soon. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks. Alrighty then. Okay. So we'll kind of continue off. What the heck? My screen sharing is being a little funny here. Just give me a second. All right, should have my screen. Again, so not a huge long meeting here. The bulk of us, they're just talking to Dimitri. As you guys know, there's my little guy, that's Kipton Michael, and we were really happy to bring him into the world on Friday. Yeah, she's Friday, 8:42 p.m. Anyways, so I apologize for being a little on the foggy side and not having as much content as I would normally like to have on a Tuesday morning, but been a little occupied. So just some reminders of some upcoming stuff. 2023 starts now. Our annual business planning workshop, Inside Out Business Planning, is on Tuesday, October 25th at 9:30. It's going to be at the Help Center at 1883 Henderson. Yeah, so Tuesday, October 25th, 9:30. So we won't have a sales meeting that day. It will be the business planning workshop. Stay tuned for a link will be sent out to register for that probably later today. So keep an eye out for that one. Also, our annual Christmas party and holiday party is on December 10th at the Royal Aviation Museum. It's going to be fantastic. Keep it up for that. As well, Masters Formula. I'm not going to go through it in a whole bunch of detail. I've been plugging it for a few weeks now, so check that out. And it does start tomorrow. And I'll just say, if anybody, I guess it's all at Keniston. We had a couple, I think we're up to like 12 people right now in total, but 10 out of the 12 are at Keniston. So we are going to be slowly at Keniston unless some massive amount of people come out for Henderson. let me know really quickly. But at this point, it looks like it's going to be all at Keniston for this 10-week training program, which is fantastic. Excited for a really great group of people there, learning, getting better, sharpening those skills for this market we're heading into. All right, you can check that out there. Last one there is today from Royal LePage, managing your online reputation when clients become advocates. That's today at 1 p.m. That's Eastern time is posted there at 1 p.m. You go to royalpnetwork.com, center training, webinar training, or there's also a link exactly in the meeting notes or in the agenda I sent out. And that's it. That's all. So just a quick one. Again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Dimitri. If you have any questions at all, please reach out. And there's some great training coming up. We got a busy fall schedule ahead of us. All right. Thanks, guys. Take care. I'm just seeing if there's anything else on the old Zoom docket here. Stop sharing. That's it. Okay. Ciao. Have a great week.